Welcome to the Claws Out podcast. I'm joined this afternoon by Adrian Tripodina. Thank you for joining me, Adrian.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Just before we got on to do this podcast, in the last hour, mate, it's been announced that Shane Richardson has exited the West Tigers. Can I get your initial thoughts on that?
I was holding out that he wouldn't. I was holding out that he wouldn't.
Which I think all West Tigers fans were.
Yeah. I think it's when he signed, I thought it was the best signing that the club has made since we made the finals in 2011 or something like that. I'm shocked, and I just think it's completely it's pretty gut wrenching, to be honest.
So in the past week, our club has lost 4 independent directors, the chairman, and our CEO.
Yeah,
that's desperate times for a club.
Yeah, it's probably unheard of in terms of the administration of a club, and it's we've gone from talking about Jerome Buller being extended potentially and Jerome Luai having clauses taken out to now having no CEO, no chairman, no effective board. The people that have run the club into the ground, arguably, because I don't want to be sued for any defamation here, the people that have run the entity into the ground in the last 15 years, having taken back control of the company for various reasons that they spout publicly to form a narrative, which is, paper thin at best, probably.
And you mentioned Jerome Buller and Jerome Luai being close to confirming their long-term future at the club. Why would any player want to commit to this club long-term at this point in time?
You would argue that they wouldn't. You would argue that any player manager worth his salt wouldn't bring a player to this club or allow their player to be at the club. And I guess we're going to see how all that unfolds. The only reason is Benji, but even how does Benji even look somebody in the eye and say, this is a club worth coming to? I mean, if you look back at his podcast with Terrell May probably 3 months ago, I think he mentioned on there, like, how lucky we are and fortunate to have Richo as a CEO. And I don't think he was saying it because Richo was his boss, which he is. I think he was just saying, like, that is a 3-time premiership winning proven CEO that's also taken another club into the finals as well as those 3, basically from financial ruin, most of them from the bottom up, and he couldn't save the West Tigers. So, like, it's we can go into it more, but yeah, I've got nothing to say,
mate. And it's crazy. You could understand it if the club hadn't shown signs of improvement. But the last 12 to 18 months under Shane Richardson, there has been massive improvement in our club. The club's still not where we want it to be. I think every West Tigers supporter is very happy to say that this club still has a long way to go. But we've just put the club back multiple years to where we were back pre getting a review done on the club.
Yeah, you could argue that it's the same decade or generational damage that when we lost, Moses, Teddy, and I mean Woodsy to a lesser degree, but it's as big as that. I don't know how you could say otherwise. I mean, the only saving grace is that Benji is the coach and he seems to be able to recruit players, but I mean, he's all about family first. And at the end of the day, I don't know how he can look those guys in the eye and say, like, if you don't want to leave or go somewhere else, that's not a sound decision for you to make based on what we've just seen. I mean, if you are any other club talking to any of our players, you don't have to make a strong argument that we are legitimately the worst run administrative club, and not just worse. We are I was at a event on the weekend with people that are in the Canterbury organisation, and even they were saying, actually, even a St George fan, they were saying they feel sorry for us. They're like, they said it's sad. It's sad,
and that's exactly where we are.
That's it. It's sad. Yeah,
like our club is that much of an embarrassment at the moment that other fans feel sorry for us. It's not attacking our club. It's just sorrow for it. And now I want to talk to you as a fan before we get into a little bit more detail. As a fan, are you concerned for the future of the West Tigers?
Am I concerned for the future longevity of the Tigers being a license holding organization? Probably not, because I think there's a large enough fan base. Am I concerned about the future of the club having any success in the next 5 years? Yeah, I think we're the lowest. We're the lowest of the low. I mean, I don't know. Let's see if Buller and that extend now. I mean, whatever. But whether it's going to be a thin time for everyone, I would say.
Now, Now, the reason we invited you on today is you've had a little bit of think about where the club is and a direction forward, and had some ideas about how possibly fans can help the club improve our club for the future. Today's a big knock on that, but do you want to go through some of that, mate?
Yeah, I think obviously you look at the channels that you can take as a fan, and obviously there's like the PR pressure, which you guys have done a great job before having the petition. I know we've got the rally going. I know people have been writing into the NRL, and I don't know where that lands in terms of appointing an administrator and things like that. But just there's probably another angle where I had been thinking about it and been speaking to some people and seeing what avenue there was there, and just having some experience sat on boards and being a director of different boards, and from having quite esteemed corporate and political figures associated on those boards, I know that the one thing that directors do not want is scrutiny about breaching duties. And I'm not going to claim that anyone's done anything wrong. I'm not claiming that anyone's done anything intentional, because again, this is not a defamation spout, but there is an angle where fans, even if you're not a member of the club, even if you're not a shareholder of the club, you have the ability to write into ASIC and make some assertions based on just observable facts that have happened about what has occurred and whether they should look at investigating directors breaching their duties. And, I have spoken to some journos who said to me, HBG owns 90% of the West Tigers. They can do what they want, and they actually can't by the law. So just because HBG own 90% of an asset doesn't mean that they can run it into the ground or do things that they think are in the best interests of HBG. And again, we're seeing a narrative come out now where Richo had done the wrong thing, and soon it'll be, if Buller doesn't extend, it'll be, we didn't have enough money for him, and it was about the stadium policy, and it was about this. And again, at the end of the day, there are very clear directors' duties, which each of those HBG directors had to administer when making the decision to sack 4 independent directors, all of whom have got well-credentialed, highly espoused public personas, but also professional industry credibility, plus a chairman who was the Premier of New South Wales. And the test is, would a reasonable director foresee harm in making the decision that it did? And that's all ASIC will investigate. And when it looks at seeing whether that had happened, it'll look at the time frame and saying, for example, the independent directors were engaged in, I think, January 2024. Correct. Or whatever it was. And then we basically had our best year in terms of financial performance. So we've heard, in terms of the club turning a profit, but also in terms of the club having stability on the field, in terms of having 3 wooden spoons and now coming 10th or whatever, coming called 10th, 12th. And so you can argue that once that decision was made, maybe a week ago now, we've seen 4 independents sacked, a CEO who has won 3 premierships with different clubs, plus taken another club into the finals, I think a prelim. We've seen player talks about extending put on hold. We've seen a brand tarnished through the whole media. And ASIC will say, well, was that foreseeable when they made that decision? And as a fan, I think what I would encourage, and I'm happy to provide a template where they can just submit a form to ASIC basically asking for an investigation. And if enough fans do it, I mean, ASIC, will generally look at things and won't look at things, but if enough fans do it, then I think that is the real pressure to apply to individuals who face then, $1 million fine for breaches that have occurred, if they've occurred, deregistration as directors, personal liability around the financial asset valuation loss of the company. And again, there are a lot of things that we can talk about because people ask me, well, how do you prove that the asset is being devalued? And again, you don't even have to, the legal framework is you don't even have to look at the, a dollar value associated with it. You just have to say, is the asset worth less than it was a week ago? And, you would argue things around executive deterrence now, which is what, and I think there was an article that came out about Brent Reed or someone wrote it, I can't remember, which was which directors in Australia are actually going to take this, the non-executive, non-independence. And the test is not, can you fill it? Like HBG might say, we can fill it and we can fill the CEO role and we can fill players. It's, have you shrunk the pool considerably with the damage that you've caused? Are you putting in place somebody of a lesser caliber? If you take Tony Mestrov, and I've got nothing against Tony, if you take the other gentleman that they're talking about in terms of West Tigers taking over as the CEO, the interim guy who's working there now, any of those, Shane Richardson is arguably the top 3 CEOs in the game just by the merit of what he's done.
Best CEO we've ever had.
Best, almost best. There are no CEOs in the game who have won 3 premierships with 3 different clubs.
And brought them from the same position that we were in.
So, my angle is, yes, we can lobby the NRL, and there are things around the NRL that Peter Belandi should look at in terms of, one of the tenements of having an NRL license is to make sure that you're competitive as a club. And you would argue that basically the actions of the West Tigers, the HBG board, have made us less competitive now because of those things. Blowing up the CEO, blowing up the board, what it's done to player retention, what player managers would be thinking about it, what's happening in the media right now. All those things go to the very fabric of, at the end of the day, as a fan, we pay for tickets, we pay for merchandise, we pay for memberships. We effectively have an implied contractual arrangement with the NRL. We pay to support the NRL, and in turn, we bring the eyeballs. They get money for the revenue from those eyeballs, and we expect them to uphold licenses to ensure governance of all the entities associated, not just the Tigers. And there's an argument that the governance of this club has not been administered correctly, and that's for other people to look into and decide. I'm only looking at it based on what I've seen. But if that's the argument, and if sacking 4 independent directors whose job it is no financial ties to HBG or the West Tigers, is basically to provide the checks and balances for an organisation, and you get rid of all of them, and you can argue that is good governance. Even their argument around, we didn't get any oversight over the stadium, we didn't get any oversight over player caps. It's a disproportionate response to go and sack independent directors. You've also got Dennis Burgess, who sat on both boards. Now, the argument is, well, if he wasn't being told, at the end of the day, you ask for more reporting. As a major shareholder, you ask for more reporting, checks and balances. You don't go and sack 4 directors. And so I think...
And if Danny Burgess was in those meetings, why wasn't that then fed back to the club? And why does he escape any sort of sanction at all for that role?
Well, he escapes it at the moment because... the only people investigating this, let's take the Liquor Gaming Board, I don't know anything about, but at the end of the day, you're basically lobbying an organisation like the Liquor and Gaming Board, or you're lobbying the organisation like the NRL to do something, whereas I'm saying there is another avenue, which is through ASIC, which actually has corporate powers. It's not built on emotion. It doesn't care about PR campaigns. It just simply looks at and examines the facts. What happened with these directors? Did they breach Section 180, 181, 182 based on, foreseeing harm, misproper use, conflicts of interest, and things like that? And if enough of us fans just write in and ask for an investigation on that, HBG can say what they want, but the investigation will look at those things, and it's up to them. Again, I'm not claiming that anyone has done the wrong thing. I'm just simply saying that on the face of it, does it pass the smell test?
And from the outside looking in, a board or an organisation that has dismissed across 2 boards in their underneath their authority in the last 18 months, 8 directors, including 3 chairs, and now 2 CEOs have moved on within that organisation as well, is not a good look from the outside looking in.
I mean, again, that's why I think that the avenue that us fans should look at is going through ASIC and saying, again, just having sat on boards. I mean, I know that the pressure around a director is, HBG would have known that there would be a public backlash to this. They would know that, and they would have just said, you know what, we've weathered it before. We own 90%. It'll die down. We'll put in We'll put in another CEO. We'll smear Richo. We'll say Buller wasn't ever going to extend. We'll say whatever, and eventually this will just all die down. They've done it just before Christmas. Everyone's going on holidays. You got New Year's Eve. Journos like David.
No NRL 360.
Journos like David Richo are going on leave today. I think that they've done it at that timing. And I think my view is, as a fan, you want to look at all the possible avenues that you can do. And so I'm going to be writing into ASIC, and I encourage other people to sort of do it. And let's see. But,
Trippa, I really thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we can have a positive impact on our club, because right now I don't think things could get much more negative. Though we do have a couple of players who we need to fix up. So I probably shouldn't speak too soon, but thanks, mate, for joining us. I really appreciate it. To everyone out there, get involved in this action. Write the ASICs. Get your messages through the NRL. Get out to the rally at Pratton Park at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. Get out there in your West Tigers gear. Show you're a West Tigers supporter, and let's get our club back. Thanks, mate.
No worries. Thank you.
We'll be right back.